It's 2024, and you know what that means? Some albums that turn 10 years old.
Some of these albums are fucking monumental. You gotta stick around to listen to them.
It's our 4th year on Forgemaster, so for New Year's, whatever, drop down, what's your New Year's resolution? To celebrate, I got Ben a present.
Wow!
And he's gonna open it on camera.
Oh my, thank you.
Hopefully you like it.
Oh boy, dude, the Ed 209, goodness. I love that, dude. Oh, that's fucking awesome, dude.
Happy 4-year anniversary for Forgemaster. Let's get into our picks. Triptykon, Melana, Chasmata, Tom G. Warrior, the genius behind the band, has faced many challenges since the 90s, but this record in particular proves his mastery in punishing and dark fucking recordings. With over 30 years in his career, dude, that's crazy to think about. Warrior continues to excel and really proves it here, creating that mature and refined fusion of black death, doom, and thrash metal just absolutely perfectly. Departing from previous albums, this effort balances intelligence and fucking darkness, dude. Showcasing a controlled but just nuanced flow. The album explores those black death and doom metal feelings with a perfect execution, and it just ascends you and also descends you seamlessly throughout. What are your thoughts on this record?
They're profound, like you said, man. This album, tied in with its Giger artwork, is just like the quintessential dark metal.
So
because
good.
It is like those fusions of all those things, like you said. It's got black, it's got doom. It's just extreme, all of its varieties, and it just knows how to just harness and distill it into this heavy, dark fucking thing.
Check this out. And what I love too is like Warrior's vocal performance, it just complements all those atmospheric pieces in such a great way. And there's memorable drum work throughout, just emphasizing that tension perfectly. Some people might argue that the album's consistency throughout might make it feel uneventful, but I argue the contrary, that it reflects Warrior's confidence in excellence as a songwriter. Overall, this album just stands super high as one of Warrior's best efforts, highlighting his thoughtful songwriting and just uncompromisingly heavy approach for doom metal. This is a super hot take, but disbanding Celtic Frost to form Triptykon was, I think, a smart move.
Shylmagoghnar, Emergence. This is a band that is still killing it with their most recent record that just came out a few months ago, is being hailed one of the most critically acclaimed albums from 2023. So let's take a quick dive into the emergence of this blackened metal band by analyzing their debut record a little bit. Solo or duo acts are not a new thing, but looking back, the mid-2020s certainly felt like an upward slope as far as the rise of small groups of musicians and engineers getting together to really release monumental records. You know, we had bands like Panopticon, Falls of Rhoros, Obsidian Tongue, really all getting their footing around this time.
Those are our bros.
For sure, man. All those guys and all those bands are amazing and inspirational.
I want to know, when you discovered this band, let me know why you clicked on it, because for me, I saw it just pop up in my YouTube suggestions, and the reason why I clicked it was because the band name was enormous, and I was like, okay, I have to fucking hear this. I was not disappointed. It honestly was one of my most spun records that year when it came out. I was absolutely floored by it, and to this day, I am still very impressed by this band.
it refuses to kind of be shoved into a corner as far as like its subgenre. You know, outside of your typical black metal, I'm also hearing stuff from Witherfall, Insomnium, Bellacore, you know, a lot of those like melodic death metal bands. The vocals harken back to the 90s era black metal, and some of the melodies and structures kind of even lean into that territory. The album, however, is just much more than a typical trot through like that blackened landscape. Depending on who you ask, this is the best record on this list. I'm a bit more eager to check out the Pallbearer or Yob records, spoiler alerts from 2014, but I totally pick up what you guys are putting down if you love this album.
Pallbearer, Foundations of Burden. Many of us Doom fans thought that Sorrow and Extinction would be very hard to top, but man, does this sophomore release make me love this band so much fucking more. I love this record, and I would argue that it's an example of an album that is the closest to perfection for a modern sounding Doom record. There isn't a mere sequel that is deliberate in evolution here like this record, acknowledging the power of the debut and then elevating it to new heights like Foundations of Burden did. Insanely heavy, not only in sound, but just in emotional impact.
I couldn't stop spinning this record when it came out, dude. I was a very vocal minority when I said this is their best record right now. Yes, Sorrow and Extinction was really good and it was unique, but this felt like a refined version of what they were doing with this modern, retro take on crushing emotional doom metal. Easily my favorite on this list of that year. I cannot get enough of this record, man. Some of these riffs just get stuck in my head for days. The Ghost I Used to Be. Dude.
Disgusting.
That song is perfect.
The guitarists Devin Holt and Brett Campbell just showcase here what they can do with strong riffs and melodies. The bass too is one of my favorite parts of the record. Joe's ability to make things just sludgy and thick is so fucking good, and Campbell's voice exudes so much confidence here, and it's just dark and so memorable. The ebb and flow in the songwriting here too just captivates you with standout tracks. Like you said, The Ghost I Used to Be is amazing. And the emotionally charged closer, Vanished. Check this out. And as we reach the decade mark with this album, I've spun it so many times that I can just say that Foundations of Burden solidifies Pallbearer's place among the doom metal pantheon, which I'd want to live someday. It's sincere, powerful, and demands your fucking attention.
Plateau Sigma, the true shape of Eskatos. Shout out to our friend and co-singer from Fateful Hour, Zach, for turning me onto this record. Cool story for you. Circa 2014, I was really not listening to nearly as much new music as we do today. I would maybe buy 3 or 4 albums like a year.
Poser.
Every once in a while, Zach, you or Bliss would hit me up and be like, hey, check this band out. And I remember Zach hitting me up with Plateau Sigma, and I was just super enthralled, and check out what I mean. If you've been with us for a while, you know how much we love our melodic death doom, and if you're new, welcome in. Yes, it's true. Pretty much anything in this genre and the subgenre is really just fascinating to me. And what this band unleashed on a debut record was really nothing short of noteworthy. From the dreary and haunting album cover to the blend of new wave, dark rock with death doom, this is a passionate release that showcases an interesting variation on the subgenre. Take a listen. So you're not as familiar with this record as I am. You would really like it in the sense that there's a lot of stuff that harkens back to what Hangman's Chair has been doing with their like goth, dark rock kind of thing. And
thanks for texting me, Zach. Way to take care of your other bandmate, but not me. That's fucking cool.
You're just got left in the dark there.
Hey, guess we're not friends.
this band caught lightning in a bottle. They're still going. I don't think that they've topped this debut sound yet. It's really...
So they've plateaued.
They have plateaued. And with that, we're done.
Behemoth The Satanist. This album was important not only as one of the best Behemoth records, I will fight anyone on that, but also marked Nurgle's return to form after a lengthy multi-year battle with cancer. After a 4.5-year hiatus, the album is a symbol of rebirth for the Polish extreme metal band, which I fucking love that. From the start with Blow Your Trumpets Gabriel, you can tell that this album is fucking special, man. With that new innovative sound for the band that just has you spellbound from start to finish. You discovered this album late. And what are your thoughts on it now?
I wish that this band was still like this. They caught on to something that was coming out of like their like brutal death metal kind of career, and kind of we're starting to lean into that, grabbing onto blackened influences and
Cinematic.
Stuff. Right, yeah. And this is like the highlight, monumental moment of that era of the band. It's still brutal as fuck, but it also really ties in occult themes and Satanist themes and those kinds of dogmas and stuff like that.
Lots of repetition.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very, you know, the anti-gospel music.
It keeps that momentum throughout, and as the record actually gains momentum with tracks like Ora Pro Nobis Lucifer and Amen, showcasing their blackened elements kind of reminiscent of Demigod, the true brilliance of this album really unfolds in the later tracks, like The Satanist and then Ben Sahar and In the Absence of Light, introducing some fairly unique guitar riffing that we haven't really heard yet in the band, counter melodies, atmospheric nuances that just shows some of the best writing that they've ever done. This album has aged like fucking fine wine, dude. And the clean vocals in the closing epic, O Father, O Satan, O Son. There's a reason why that's one of their most popular songs. It's that fucking good. It marks a first for the band too, which contributes to the band's mature and reflective nature, which I absolutely love. It's a massive, triumphant return for Behemoth.
Agalloch, The Serpent and the Sphere, a longtime favorite of ours, man. One of my favorite memories is going to see Agalloch at the Brighton Music Hall, I think it was. Yep. Obsidian Tongue opened. This was right around the time that this album was released. Aesop was playing with them. I loved seeing him live, dude. He was like my favorite fucking addition to this band. This is one of those artists that I have to realize that Agalloch is not John Hamm. Thankfully, this album includes John Gnome Home alongside his incredibly talented bandmates J.W. Wanton and Don Anderson.
Don is awesome.
Yes, dude. And also Aesop Decker, like I already mentioned. Easily the greatest thing to happen to Agalloch, you know, well, since they became Agalloch.
When you put this on the list and I saw this came out in 2014, I couldn't believe it's been 10 years. That's, first of all, that's the crazy thing. Not for nothing, this is actually one of my favorite Agalloch records, and I've seen Agalloch, I think, 4 times, and this was my favorite performance of the band. You know, not only because, you know, our buddy was touring with them at the time in Obsidian Tongue, but also just because the vibe of that show was so fun and tight. It wasn't just you were nerding out in a forest. It actually felt like an awesome black metal show. They changed instruments a bunch on the stage, and there was a lot more singing in the crowd too, which I thought was really cool.
Aesop really brought all the groove. I fucking just remember like staring at him that whole show. And this band really needed that talent level behind the kit to explore those American black metal, post-rock, and folk influences. Unfortunately, this album doesn't showcase his true talent, Aesop's talent, like they did in Marrow of the Spirit. He was wild on Marrow of the Spirit.
Crazy.
There's much more wild drumming. This album, it turns out, like I said, would be their swan song. It kind of pains me to see them. I kind of disagree with you saying it's one of their better ones. It's really good, but like they only have a couple of really good songs. This one's a little bit more vibe out, post-rock,
which
atmospheric. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so this is easily one of my favorites from 2014, stacked against their entire discography, maybe like the bottom-ish.
Yeah, I'm taking your present back.
Oh no, it's 209! Yeah, definitely a few rippers on here. The Astro Dialogue, Plateau of the Ages, will bring you on an insightful journey through the darkened forests, but I just wish that there was a little more from this album. Great album in 2014, though.
Yob, the renowned Oregon outfit, have reaffirmed their progressive prowess across genres like psychedelic and stoner rock in clearing the path to ascend. The staying power of this album for me is fucking crazy. I have spun it multiple times a year since it came out, and I can't believe this is 10 years old now. Drawing inspiration from the Eastern concept of the higher self. I don't have that, but good for you guys. This 4-track masterpiece transcends conventional doom, fusing those melancholic tones with a resounding sense of hope. Isn't that nice? The epic opener, In Our Blood, unfolds over 16 minutes, and it does not drag, showcasing Mike's versatile vocals ranging from a feeble tenor to a thunderous fucking yell. Check this out. Insane. What did you think about this album?
I couldn't get enough of this album. It's what hooked me on Yob, because when I first heard Yob, I didn't quite get it. I wasn't really a fan of the vocals. I thought they were kind of weird. But as they warmed up to me and as I really dove into this album, I was like, oh, like this is what it's about.
And when you see them, it's insane.
Seeing Yob live was one of like the most like spiritual experiences like I've like ever had. Going to church for the first time, it was just wild. Like the tones that they have, the interaction with the crowd.
And they're a 3-piece.
It's the fact that they're a 3-piece is fucking insane. They know how to bring the loud. They know how to just have very clear, distinct frequencies that they're going with their bass, with their vocals, with their guitars, the drums. Everything is very meticulously in its spot. It's psychedelic. It's just super fucking heavy. This band is just one of my favorites, and this was the album that caught me.
And there's a reason. I mean, the pacing on this album is honestly impeccable. The album's true path sort of gradually reveals itself to you, which is why I love the name of the album title. It's one of their most intricate and compelling works, to be honest, and it contrasts that darkness and light thing perfectly and gives you just an otherworldly sonic experience. This is just powerful, transformative fucking doom. And if you have not heard this for some reason, this is one of the most creative and innovative and spiritual doom records you will ever hear. Check it out.
Winterfylleth, the Divination of Antiquity. One of the few albums that I actually bought. I said I only bought 3 or 4 albums back then, and this was one of them. This one stayed in my car for weeks. I listened to it constantly. It was one of those records that just hit me at the right time, you know? The record pairs very nicely with my next pick. You gotta stick around and see what that is. With its devotion to nature and the capability of telling stories from the days of yore. We had the great privilege and opportunity to speak with Chris Naughton, the chief behind this band, and his love for metal, for folklore, was all very apparent when we asked him questions about the band and how they came to be and how they are the powerhouse that they are now.
I loved this album for one of the most simplest fucking reasons ever. They have like this one trick that they do in every song, and I know you know what I'm about to say. They do the blast beat thing, and then all of a sudden it switches to double bass, and the snare goes half the hits.
It's perfect every time.
It does not get old. Every time it happens, I get goosebumps and I just put the song back on.
Yep.
They could do that for 9 hours a day and I would listen to it. It's so fucking good.
This album is filled to the brim with the spectacle of mythos and mysticism, taking the listener along winding journeys through the ancient forests of Bowland and across the soaking streams in the heart of Cheshire. This album was a huge step up in the musicianship of this band as they introduced Mark Deeks, who has become an essential part of the band. Overall, this is just a killer record that has become highly influential in our circle. Just wait until you hear the next Fate Flower record. The Divination of Antiquity was like a massive inspiration for us at this time, and you're gonna hear that all over that record. Release date to be determined.
It'll probably be this year.
Yeah, I hope so.
Primordial, Where Greater Men Have Fallen. Ireland's Primordial, known for their pagan anthems, absolutely blew my fucking mind in 2014 with the release of this record in particular. The title track alone is ridiculous with that iconic opening gallop that just hits you in the fucking dick. This album does not let up either, with wall-to-wall bangers of epic, heavy-ass doom. The guitars are perfectly in sync with that war drum feel of the album, just showcasing the band's passion and focus for the subject matter. And man, does it just hit hard on every goddamn song. Alan's vocals too. I love when a band, when you hear them, you know it's them. And Alan makes that happen for Primordial. What a fucking powerhouse of a singer. His fervent cry just elevates every song to just metal fucking god territory. And with the raw amount of motion that he exudes and a performance on every track, this is such a great record.
This is such a fucking unique band. I can't think of any other band from Ireland outside of Mourning Beloved that is just in the doom category, just doing their own thing. They just stand alone. Like nobody else sounds like Primordial. They sound like Celtic druids, just like
they do.
Harnessing the land of ire in their, bards of their ancestors. And it's just so cool, man.
What I love about this band is they can take that heavy ass sound and then hark it back to their blackened roots, and that's all over this record. One of my favorite parts of the band, by the way, is their ability to mix black metal with heavy metal, and that epic doom vibe with blackened tones is super addicting to me, and it's the basis of pretty much all the Merrifield songs. The production too by Jamie Gomez Arellano is just gorgeous. The drums are so fucking powerful. The guitars are insanely lively, and the bass is punchy as hell. It sits in the mix perfectly. Where Greater Men Have Fallen is just easily their best album. I still revisit it every goddamn year. It's one of my favorite metal albums in the genre.
Saor Aura. This one-man black and folk metal band has been fucking on a tear since their inception in 2013. Their sophomore debut further explores Celtic mythology, culture, and poetry. I feel like these last three albums are pairing very well together. I've been to Scotland and Ireland, and I can tell you that the music captures the essence of those lands by channeling their majesty into a mystical form of metal. Check out what I mean. Yeah, man, I fucking love the groove in that riff right there. This album doesn't play around with its pacing because the 5 tracks just go by in a flash, giving you a very well-rounded view of everything that Andy Marshall and company have to offer. Like a hot air balloon ride of the Highlands, your breath is taken away, and by the time you realize what you've just done, you're back on the ground and you're ready for more. I
don't know why this band isn't talked about more. They are so freaking good at what they do. The whole blackened folk thing and just coming from where they come from, they nail that vibe perfectly. And if you love Primordial and you love Winterfylleth, for some reason you haven't heard this band, fix that and start with this record.
One of the turnoffs from this record is the snare tone. Austin Lunn is the man behind the drum kit, and while I think he does a really good job holding down the rhythm section, that snare is like a rock in my shoe. It just sounds kind of out of place with its very twangy aluminum kind of sound. It's a very common snare tone for this time period. I don't think it's aged well, but you know, what are you gonna do? Other than that, I really can't say that there's any reason not to spin this album a multitude of times. Unlike, say, Emergence from Shylmagoghnar, it tends to wander. This album has zero fat on it, just allowing for multiple listens with no exhaustion.
So now that we are starting 2024, are you exhausted already with your year-end resolution things? What are your goals? Let us know down in the comments below. And you know what? Check out some of our other videos.
As always, go with the gods. Forge mates, may the emergence emerge from your butt
And weep.